Okay, so this video is for those that are real estate developers in Nigeria, construction, you buy, build, and you sell. I know your pain, I feel your pain. I'm in that category myself. So my name still remains Okpe Uluwa Oni, and today I'm going to be talking to us, teaching us on how you can mitigate against inflation. Okay, I know that a lot of people have been asking for this video for a very, very, very long time, and I believe this will go a long way to help you, especially for those that are developers. It will go a long, long way to help you. So this is just a quick tip to help developers beat and mitigate against inflation problem. Okay. I mean, inflation is a global phenomenon, but there are some that are just peculiar to Nigeria, basically. Okay, so we are going to be looking at it. So it's not going to be a very long video. I'll just share personal tips. It might not be exhaustive. You can have your own personal revelation of how you've been able to beat inflation, especially for those that are in Nigeria or you are doing construction in Nigeria. So, okay, what are the peculiarity of Nigeria? Nigeria has a lot of instability. Those are realities. Those are the challenges that we are facing. A lot of uncertainty. And we are still in the post-COVID era too. There are so many things that the COVID era disrupted, and today we are not fully recovered from it. And the value chain problem is still there. There are a lot of material supplies, shortages in the world, a lot of backlogs. Depending on what form of construction that you are into, there's still a lot of backlogs. I mean, I know people that are still expecting the automated machine from China almost forever. Unlike before, they order within a month, it arrives. Now it takes longer to arrive. And war. I mean, look at after COVID, all of a sudden, the Ukraine war, now the Israeli war. So a whole lot of stuff happened and all of that. Then after COVID too, the Jackpot thing started. Everybody's leaving. And a lot of talent. I mean, I have a developer friend that started the project in 2019. It was quite massive. As at the time he was delivering the project, the architect that started the project didn't finish it. The M&E engineer that started the project didn't finish it. Literally, I mean, all the expertise traits that started the job did not finish it. Okay, so talents are leaving, and that's the reality. I remember they wanted to give it to one of our own projects in somewhere in Lakwe. The architect that designed it is no more in the country right now. Okay, so these are realities that are a lot of developers are facing, and it's affecting how early you deliver project, how often you deliver project, and how well you deliver the project. So these are challenges and all of that. Then the big elephant in the room, which is government. So government too is there and all of that. So what are the things that we can now do in the face of all these challenges that is making inflation, prices of things go higher, that we can do? Like I said, these are basically some of the things we have done in our own business that has helped us thus far. Okay, basic one that most of us are aware of. Number one is warehousing of materials. Okay, warehousing of materials will help you a great deal. So basically, after doing your bill, you have an idea of all the materials that you want to go, and with a clause that the fund is available. With all the funds available, you can warehouse this material. All you just need to do is to warehouse. If, for instance, now you are doing 1,000 housing project and you know you're going to be needing a particular foreign, especially something that you are going to import or is going to be affected by change in dollar and all of those things. In Nigeria, it's very, very peculiar. In 2023, we bought Naira. I remember I wanted to do a demolition for a particular JV we wanted to enter into. And we've negotiated with the guy and all of those things. So they moved to site. The first day they did their job, we made payment to them, we transferred to them. The second day they didn't show up. We're asking, what happened now? Why, guys? And these guys are local abokis and all of those things. And we're running against and we didn't see them. The third day, we had to go to their park. What happened now? Why are you guys not? I said, no, that they can't come until we had the money that they used to collect the money. So all of a sudden, the cost of demolition went up with almost 50%. Okay, because at that point in time, we're just buying naira to pay them. So these are challenges that are just crazy, you know. So government can be one of your biggest problems in construction in Nigeria. So warehousing of material will really help you. But of course, that's if you have all the money. So if you warehouse it, it helps you to now do the next thing, which is long-term planning. Long-term plan. You want to build 1,000 house, you plan, envisage a lot of things. You plan, you strategize from personnel to materials to funding. So you do a long-term projection of what you will be needed and be needing at that point in time. Okay. Then number 3 tip. Okay, number 1 is warehousing your material. Number 2 is long-term planning. Then number 3 is you establish a solid vendor relationship, especially with your foreign partners. Establish a very solid vendor relationship, especially with those that are not in Nigeria. Of course, with those that are in Nigeria, too, depending on the volume that you are doing. You know, if you are doing a particular volume in terms of construction, it's better you just bring your stuff in. Or if you are not doing up to a particular volume, I'm not going to give you figures now. Of course, you do your material sourcing and all of those things, so you know at what point you should start importing yourself and all of that. So the reason is that it helps you to lock the price at a particular a steady flow of materials and lock the price down at a particular amount, so that you even if there is in case of incasity, let me use the word, so you'll be able to have some measure of stability and all of that. So foreign and local too. So if you are not big enough, there are guys that you can lock down. I remember a guy locked down the price of cement for so long at 3,500. Even when cement was going for 4K, 5,000, he was getting it for 3,500. Okay. If you have a relationship with this guy, and sometimes ability to lock this down means that you have done a upfront payment, they've used your money to trade, because the same way you are fighting against inflation, that's the same way the vendors and the contractors and the people that your suppliers to are battling the inflation to, because most of the time, most of them are thinking of replacement cost. They're thinking of replacement cost. And when somebody is thinking of replacement cost, you and I know that is a whole lot of bottleneck entirely. Okay. So that is that about establishing vendors. Okay. The number 4 thing that I will encourage you to do is to dollarize your pricing strategy. In fact, a lot of people do this first. I mean, but if you do not factor every other thing, dollarizing your pricing strategy can even backfire. So dollarize your pricing strategy and do a regular price review. So let me just add that to it. Dollarize your pricing strategy and do a regular price review. If, for instance, now it's going to cost you 500 million as at the time you did the QS and all of those things to finish a project, and you've done your price, and maybe a unit is going to go for 50 million naira. So how much is that 50 million in the equivalent of dollar? So if, for instance, the dollar is 1,000 naira at that point in time, I will encourage you do your forecast. Can this dollar go below 800? So you can peg it at 800. So if you peg it at 800, what that automatically means is that you'll probably be selling not at, if it will be 1,000, if you just do 1,000 to and divide it by 50 million naira, that means you are selling for $50,000. But if you are doing it at 800, probably you'll be selling for like $60,000. So what you have invariably done is that even though if the dollar depreciate and naira gain value, you are still okay, of course, but you'll have done your projection, you'll have done quite a number of stuff, and you need to keep reviewing the price at every point in time. You are not supposed to sell in dollar, but you're just going to be selling it at the equivalent of dollar. If, for instance, now the $60,000 that you pegged it on, so whatever $60,000 is in the exchange rate is what you are going to be selling. I don't know whether that makes sense, but there are other details to it. So if you need other details, that's consulting. that means you'll be paying me for consultation. But I just there's no magic to it. So that's just the basic way to achieve dollarization of your project. Okay, it will help you a lot, especially price variation and all of those things. But the project in itself, let's now go back to the project in itself. So the next thing is to introduce work flexibility. Yeah, you can work at night. You can do a whole lot of stuff. You can, because I remember during COVID we were doing a project, and one of the mistakes we learned this from it was that there were so many things that we transported during the day, and because of the rioting and all of those things, and for that we lost paint in millions, multiples of millions. So if you develop a flexible mode of transporting, especially if you have your means of transportation, you can tell them, okay, guys, leave by 10 p.m., deliver in the middle of the night, and all of those things. So, and there must be people on site that are ready to work. And so those are some of the things that you need to introduce flexibility. And some of your guys right now, maybe your architect is in US, the time is not favorable and all of those things. So instead of trying to get somebody else, it will increase your cost. So introduce flexible payment plan. In fact, in this age and time that you cannot really tie down a professional to a particular job, you can have um, multiple professionals that are working for you and at the same time working for others, so that you not pay them at astronomical rate. Okay, so those are some of the flexibility, because artisan payments too is something else. Okay, but those are realities. I don't need to go into all those other stuff. So the next thing is alternative means of construction. Alternative means of construction. So you need to really look at that. And a friend of mine, we've not tried it. A friend of mine did a project of recent, um, and there's this new form of polystyrene that you do not need plastering to use. So there was a way they did it. Just make research. So after using the polystyrene, they just clad it, and that's all. So it speed up the rate at which they did the construction, because you don't need to be waiting for something to dry up. So there's a way they use a wire mesh to hold the polystyrene together and clad it. And it's even lighter. It doesn't give your foundation so much load to carry, or your decking so much load to carry. So all the loads are just on the pillars and all of that. So it's those are alternative means of construction that you need to look at. And there's a guy too that is trying to bring in 3D printing into Nigeria. I don't know how cheaper that will be, but he said because it will help him. He said he said he has done the math anyway, but it will help him. It will give him speed, and it will reduce the cost of construction because it's reducing speed, and it will increase artisan repeat cost, error cost, and a whole lot of stuff analysis that he did. But I said until you try it, some of us does not, some of us might not go into that space yet. Okay, so that those are alternative means of construction. You need to open to it. Outside this client, a lot of people use red bricks and a whole lot of stuff. But Nigerians are very funny. We have most of the time when we have a way of doing stuff, we always keep wanting to do it that same way. So we need to just look at alternative ways. Okay. Then the next thing is access to cheap funding for quick execution, because these can be the biggest ordeal that you will ever face. If the opportunities are available, do it. Okay, even if it's dollar, because if you can have access to dollar fund, it's not out of place, because you are dollarizing your price, and so it's still not out of place. And especially if it can be a single digit funding, and it will make a whole lot of sense. And you are receiving it in dollars, you are also selling in dollars. Of course, even though you're selling in naira, but in dollars. And you might be wondering, will people pay? Will people pay? Basically, it's value. Okay, it's value that you are creating. It's value that you are creating. Okay, so the next thing is that you partner with government and government agency, direct and indirectly. So this is one of the things we've done. I mean, most of the guys doing our documentation, most of the guys doing our approvals, they are government people themselves. Okay, so we partner with them directly and indirectly, so that number one, you know the specification, you get it done right. not because we want to cut corners, but because we want to get things done right and done at a good speed. Okay. Then the other thing is creative financing. Creative financing. Creative financing in this sense is using one project to fund the other. I might not be able to go into all those details. Okay. A lot of people use land project now to fund housing project because of they are looking for a creative way to finance a project that will not be too expensive. Okay. So lastly, which is I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 10, which is the last one, is you need to be flexible, adaptable, and have contingency plan. Okay. This is the time to always have miscellaneous because things will show up that you did not plan for. So don't say I don't do miscellaneous. You have to start doing miscellaneous because there are things that will show up that you did not plan for. Okay. So have contingency, be adaptable when things come up, try to change immediately so that you'll be able to stay relevant at every point in time because there are guys that will bring up innovative solutions that will literally throw people out of the market. Okay, so my construction people, I hope this has been able to help fellow developers in one way or the other. Of course, these are just points you can expand and just reach out to me on plus 234 8075 343090. Chat me up, send me a DM on Instagram, and any other means you are watching this from, and we can help each other out. Okay, thank you. Bye. Subscribe and share.